bit about the overall vision, of how we got where we're going, the model, how we're trying to pay for all this, what we see in the future, then some just very general conclusions. So, the vision, this is kind of a little bit of my journey at Penn State. I came on board July 8th, 2008 into a very dysfunctional shop, and there were a lot of things that were very troublesome that I had to take care of very quickly, like before the start of classes, which were in about a month and a half. So really the first thing for me was I had to stay calm and carry on, and really try to figure out what we were trying to do. And that's that old saying that was common during World War II with the Brits. And this is what I was faced with on day one here. If you look at that, some of the podiums there with those beautiful extension cords, literally jacks falling out of the wall, all kinds of cables coming into projectors. And that was our server room, which was running everything. So this was my first day on the job. Needless to say, I had to stay calm and try to proceed forward. Luckily, our chancellor, Dr. Buccarni, said, you know, I'll give you the resources. Just make sure you get it done, do it right, etc. So I had Dr. Buccarni on my side and helped us through all this. So what did we have to do? Before we could do anything, we had to get our ship in shape. That was the first thing. You can't have excellence in the classroom. You can't have great learning places like this when the place is a mess, a physical mess. So the first thing we had to do, and this is kind of I've become famous because of this term, is decrapify. We had to get rid of the junk. And then once you get rid of the junk, you can start investing time and energy into the infrastructure. And more importantly, you really have to know your limits. What can you accomplish and what's impossible, what's probable, etc. All right, first rule of decrapifcation is don't do schlock. And if you know what the word schlock is, it's tacky, you know, junk, things like that. So the first thing you got to do in the decrapifcation process is remove junk. And I've got some examples here. That is very useful, that cabinet there, but it shouldn't be in a classroom or anything like that. So if you have things like this, get rid of it. And when in doubt, throw it out. That picture was taken recently. I found that in the back of a geosciences class. It was unbelievable. I don't know where it came from, but it just appeared one day. So I just wheeled it out to the loading dock, and it's gone now. All right, and if it's broke, quite frankly, you go in there and you fix it. That's the wiring closet that I had. Isn't that beautiful? Very colorful, I find. But we fixed it. It took time, but we fixed it. So as you can see, what I had to do, the first we had to do is really clean up the mess, get through all this so that we could make things better. Now, how do you make things better? Well, first of all, you start investing in things. And quite simply, you've got to put better quality products out there. You've got to make sure the stuff works all the time. You've got to improve the server room. You've got to make your infrastructure work. You've got to make sure the projectors you buy, you know, we were relying on hand-me-downs from this place for years. All of our projectors with these guys threw out. We stopped doing that. We buy good quality stuff now. We buy Crestron equipment. We're a big proponent of CLM, the Cooperative Lab Management. We have about 700 machines through CLM. It works beautifully. We have spares of everything. We have a small room that is lined up, a spare of anything you can imagine, a projector, you know, clickers, anything you need. There's a spare of everything, laptops, projectors, cables, whatever you need. We have a small room. In case there's an emergency, we can get in there and fix it. And of course, a replacement cycle. This stuff doesn't, you know, grow by itself. You have to plan that every 4 years you've got to swap it out, or 7 years, or whatever the equipment is. So there's one of the examples. Remember that first picture I showed of the podium? The one on the right is what the new podiums look like. It looks a little cleaner, and there's no wires that get pulled out. There's no remote controls anymore that you can't by accident put in your pocket or put in your briefcase and walk away with and things like that. So buying quality products is very important. This is something that's, as of recently, whatever we do, we've got to make sure it's scalable and it's maintainable. So we use that Crestron equipment that gives us room view that allows us to, from our IT professionals' desktops, we can actually see the rooms there and actually control them if we have to. You know, turn things on and off, etc. The other thing is the buttons are all in the same spot in every single room. So as we put these new podiums in, the control panel, all the buttons are in the same spot no matter what room you go into. Some of the rooms have more buttons because they may have more features, but the general on, off, etc. are in the same spot. Here, this is right here. You know, if you stop wasting time maintaining junk, you know what you can do? You can actually do something that adds value. So instead of running around pushing things on carts and things like that, what you can do is apply your time and effort into doing things that add some value. Make the classroom experience something special. Most importantly, you can't do it all by yourself. And I think this is very hard for a lot of IT people to handle this concept because it's a matter of pride. You can't do everything yourself. You've got to ask for help. You've got to partner with other people. And what we did is you got to find your partners, both external and internal. The campuses are blessed that we really have University Park as kind of our giant consulting wing. So generally, if I have a project that I want to do, I can find people up here who can help me. And generally, they're willing to help. And the other thing that I find important is it's a partnership. So we're not looking for handouts. We're more than willing to do our share. And you know, a lot of people just go out there holding their hand for something free. I look at it this way. I'm coming up here for the expertise. I'm coming up for help. And I'm willing to contribute resources to things like that. So we have the internal Penn State entities, and we also have external entities, and that means vendors. Who do you trust? You know, we deal with Epson and Sanyo for our projectors, and we're very happy with that. We deal with Sage Technologies for our classrooms, we're very happy with that. We use Dell for computers, so things like that. So a lot of my time is actually developing relationships with both external vendors and internal PSU entities. And a lot of what I did my first 6 months, or maybe even the first year, is I knocked on a lot of doors. And we just went around and talking to people. We had the first Mac CLM lab, because I was talking to John Harwood one day. He said, come with me. We went downstairs, talked to Justin Elliott. 6 months later, we had the first Mac CLM out in the campuses. And that's what it takes, that human interaction between people. All right, so when you're partnering, who do you look to? Well, you look for your traditional partners. This sign right here means a lot. It's actually just a piece of paper that I printed and I shoved into the little sign thing there. But this could not have happened a few years ago. Building the Media Commons in the library was a challenge because we had to get about 5 different groups from University Park, plus the libraries, plus ITS locally, and get everybody on the same page to pull this off. We could not have done that a few years ago because the relationships were not in place. I get along very, very well with our college librarian, and that makes a world of difference. The IT director and the college librarian can get along. It makes life a lot easier. That sign is one of the things I'm most proud of, because it was a collaborative initiative that a lot of people joined together. We made a great facility. And you saw a picture before. That's coming down the hallways in the primo spot right in the middle of the library. Everybody sees it. That's the outside view. That's the inside view. And that's the inside of one of the little podcasting facilities. And I learned a lot about things like this, and I spent half a day with Hannah. We kind of just wandered around, and she was showing off a bunch of things you guys were doing up here. And we kind of took it one step farther. I had a guy who worked for NPR, so we kind of made a little podcasting booth, sort of like an old NPR station in there. And he did a little bit of woodwork. Here's another kind of a traditional, we teamed up with our Tutoring Center. This is actually a math tutoring facility right here, and there's the podium, that black thing on the right there. Again, the buttons are in the same spot, just like in any other classroom, and this is where they do math tutoring and the like in there for the students. This used to be, I think, a nurse's room or something like that at one time. So there's some traditional partnerships, and there's some non-traditional partnerships which was just as important. This is a hallway down by our computer labs in the lower level of Olmsted Building. Olmsted Building was an old Air Force administration building. It's solid concrete, cinder block, horrible colors, really hideous building, 20 by 25 cinder block jail cells, more or less. But down the basement, we added some color, nice paint. We put these cool ripple benches in the hallway, and we partnered with the art department to hang art. They didn't have a studio for their student works, so now they use our hallways here. You can see the pictures on the side here. Put some funky lights up on the thing, and you see down on the end there is some other types of artwork. Let me go just back 2 pictures here. That's looking all the way down the hallway there. It's 120 feet long. It's very, very long. It looked like a cave before we did this. Lighting, artwork, furniture. It all started to make some sense. Now it's learning space. You know, a lot of stuff goes on in the hallway now. They have a place to sit. They can congregate a little bit. And that work of art at the end of the hall is that. And that was done by an art class. Every year he rotates the display at the end of the hallway. Those are actually yogurt cups. And what they did is they painted the tops and they're actually with little pins on the back. So it's a very abstract piece of art. It's very cool, very scary in many ways. All right, the model. What are we talking about models here? Standardization is something that you got to just go for right away. I mean, I see with my colleagues that every room is different, the projector is different. If the projector is different, that means you got to stock different bulbs. It's that simple. Bulbs are $400 each. You can't have 9 different varieties of bulbs. So it's little things like that that are important. Minimize the failure points. What I mean by that is hide the wires and hide the remote controls so nobody can get to them. Make sure everything goes to the podium. Budgets and life cycles are not optional. You have to do this. You just can't take one-time money and that's the end of it. You have to make sure there is a steady stream, a funding stream to do this. Build from functionality to excellence. And what I mean by that is, like I said before, you got to decrapify first. You got to clean the place. You got to make what you have work. Once everything is working, then you improve it. And eventually you get to excellence. We don't have excellence in all of our spaces, but we have excellence in a lot of places now that we didn't have just a few years ago. And you know, Chris and I and others in this room have had this discussion many times. Learning occurs in all types of places. And I'll show some examples of where we believe a lot of learning is going on. It's not your traditional classrooms. So here's some examples. We have our standard dual projector systems. We have standard podiums. We have standard the guts of it. And then we have basically a single projector room, a dual projector room, and seminar rooms are 3 standard setups. And then we have some slight variations on those things. But we try to keep it down to 3. We're fairly successful with that, a lot better than we used to do. All right, what's really driven a lot of this, and when we were trying to figure out how we're going to pay for all this, it really boils down to that we believe the whole way that IT is delivered is changing. There are alternatives out there that didn't exist a few years. There are services that exist out there that weren't around a few years ago. You have to start to take advantage of some of these. We can't rely on everything being created at Penn State. We have to go outside and look for some of these things. And these alternative IT models are good because you can't ignore them. They make too much sense. Using some of these Web 2.0 technologies, etc., is really the right thing to do. It's a better student experience. And it saves you some money at the same time. And this, oddly enough, I think K through 12 is driving this because they're broke. They don't have anything anymore. So they have to rely on things like Google Docs and some of these other Web 2 technologies because they don't have a choice. They can't pay for anything anymore. So that's what they're doing. So for the first time, we're going to have students coming here expecting some things that they had since 3rd or 4th grade, and we're not doing here yet. And that'll change. But it's a very odd, this whole this great readjustment of budgets. There may be some plus out of this in the long term. In the long term, not in the short term. All right, so this is a very simple exercise that I think everybody should do in their area. They should just really look hard at what services they're providing and really think hard, long, hard, deep, really think about it. Is what I'm doing really worthwhile? And that's a tough question to ask because you've been doing it a long time, you're doing it well, but should you be doing it at all? So what we did is we literally wrote down all the services that we did on things like index cards, and then we sorted them. Things that we should continue to do, things that we should get rid of, things that we should have someone else do. And we literally sorted them out in piles like that, and so we could concentrate on those things. And like I said up here, if someone else can do it better than you or cheaper than you, why are you doing it? And even if you're doing it, does it really matter? Those are tough questions. People get very annoyed at that. So what we've tried to do here is we thought about the old bell curve. This is an academic group. You've got to put a bell curve in here to make everybody happy. You want to try to get rid of the things that are on the left-hand side, which are your commodity-type services, and the things on the right-hand side, which are your very, very high-end services, and concentrate in that middle there where you can actually add some value. And in my opinion, where we could add most value, ITS and Harrisburg, is in the classrooms. We can make the classrooms a better space. And here's some examples, and I even put some headcount numbers down there. We're actually a lot, in some regards, we're 3 or 4 people short than we were at our maximum. We're down from like 14 or 15 down to about 11 staff now, but we're doing a better job. And part of the reason is we've gone with this here, that we've looked at our commodities, we looked at our expertise, and we found other people to help with those things. And the right-hand side is almost all University Park. We have a lot of relationships with people who help us with the network, who help us with detection systems, the fiber plants, CLM, things like that. our network is managed completely by University Park. I don't have to have my people, 24/7 worrying about the switches. If something goes wrong, I get a phone call about it. On the left-hand side, we've got rid of most of the things you see there. The PC post-warranty work, someone else, Pomeroy, handles that. We don't do it ourselves anymore. We're getting there with printer maintenance. Projector installs are done by someone else. Deployments. This is the thing that kills campuses. You get 200 computers in. What do you do all summer? You deploy computers all summer. It's an absolute waste of time. You bring in a firm. We had all of our labs done, and I think within 3 days or something like that. Mid-May, we were done with our deployments. And then concentrate on the core, which is the lab management, software packaging, and things like that. All right, and here's quickly some examples of spaces what we've done. This is one of our collaboration lounge. This was a hideous little tiny space where it had some, I referred to it as like airport waiting room seats, very uncomfortable, everything at right angles. We brought in this kind of, again, the ripple seats, some nice comfortable chairs, some functional tables. We have that elevated seating area over there with laptop hookups. I'll admit, I don't see much real collaboration going on that table, but they do a lot of gaming and they watch a lot of movies there, so. they're doing something. Not what I thought they were doing, but it's, students need a place to hang out. That building is most of our classrooms, and there's no place for people to hang out. So the fact that they come in there and they do things other than academic, so be it. Can't get upset over that. Here's one in the library. This one is actually used for what it's supposed to be used for. Great example here, paint. All we had to do was paint one wall, made the room much nicer, and the paint matched the table. Imagine that, comfortable chairs. This is a practice presentation room, ultra short projector. This room is loved by the students. You'll go there in the afternoon, they'll have all the students in there with their jackets and ties and dresses on, going through their, their senior presentations and things like that. Very simple room, quite functional, didn't cost a lot of money. This is my latest thing. These are kiosks. We're trying to put them around in every nook and cranny that we can have. I was embarrassed when I went up to the Erie campus. They have about a 90 or 100 kiosks through the campus. We had 3. So we've got a little bit of catching up to do. But this is kind of the idea. You find one wall, throw 2 or 3 of them there. An example, just using the smart boards here. This is another one of these rooms. We built these 2 seminar rooms thinking faculty would love them. Well, faculty don't like them at all, as a matter of fact. They never use them for classes, but the students absolutely love them. They've become engineering study halls. Every day you go by these rooms and there's teams of students, mostly engineers, sitting in there doing their math and things like that. Completely unsuccessful for a classroom, absolutely 100% successful for a student learning space. All right, the future. Well, the future's here already. We talked a little bit about it. We're using this future. I didn't even know about this existing until a few hours ago, so that's pretty cool. That's something I learned today. The one-click video production you talked about, the iTouch video, educational gaming. We're going to do more with kiosks and collaboration spaces in general. Joanne's going to talk about what they're doing in Altoona. Altoona has a kick-ass nursing simulation lab and a communications program studios. Absolutely top-notch. I mean, really quality stuff. If you get a chance, go to the downtown Altoona and see this stuff. Very neat. And digital technologies, there's going to be annoyances with that, just how the licensing and the copyright is handled now and the intellectual property. There's going to be some bumps in the road. And finally, the conclusions here, and I'm trying to go as fast as I can because I'm probably way over already. Funding is always going to be an issue. Get over it, move on. Money is going to be tight, so be it. Success brings resource, and I'll give a good example of this. If you tell your boss that I need $30,000 to build 2 rooms, and they say, no, I can only give you 20. Don't do 2 rooms for 20. Do 1 room for 20, make it look really good, and then the money will show up for the next 20. Don't get cheap, because if it's cheap, no one's going to like the room. Spend the money, do it right, and move on. Relationships are a catalyst to success. I can't emphasize that enough. The people in this room, I know them, I trust their opinions, we get things done because of that. Build on success of others, be willing to fail. Consensus is seldom achievable with learning spaces. It's never achievable with learning spaces. Just build it. If it's wrong, do something different then. I mean, just do it. Do something and then move on. Try to do things, oh, we need the transform space. I'll show you a quick picture of that. Try to relate to the things Steve Jobs taught us, and I'll go briefly into that for a second here. This is about talking about transforming space. Talk about the knowledge commons here. Well, we started about a year and a half after the project up here, and we were done about 6 months earlier than that. But this is the, what we did is we basically got rid of all these shelvings of indices, you know, that used to be really important in 1966 and things like that. We removed a boatload of these indices. Now we have this big open spot. What are we going to do with that big open spot? Well, we're going to make it a place for students to sit and collaborate. And this stuff literally just arrived a few days ago. Isn't that cool? This kind of gives you a little bit of privacy. Comfortable chairs, the chairs move around, the equipment can be maneuvered around. It's very, very cool. And again, didn't break the bank. This was a cruddy room down the basement. We referred to as Bossermanville because Terry Bosserman, that was his office. He was one of our technicians, our AV technicians. By the way, that space, Terry Bosserman's space was 4 times larger than my office, but I'm not jealous about that. Well, what did we do with that big, giant space? Well, you know what? We did a little bit of paint, we put some carpet down, and we created what we affectionately referred to as Media Commons 2. These are not podcasting rooms, these are entire whisper rooms. You can put 3, 4 people in these. You can do interviews and things like that. We have 2 of them right there. Sort of looks like the San Quentin gas chambers or something like that. One thing that we found out about here, the students locked themselves in there. We didn't think that was a good idea. So we disabled all the locks on these things. If you look over on the right-hand side on the wall over there, you can barely see it on the top right. It kind of glows a little bit. We used that special paint to make a concrete wall into a whiteboard. So that whole, basically a good part of that wall is a whiteboard there. And there's another Mac station in the corner. So we have 2 very high-end, what we refer to as whisper rooms, carpet, paint, simple stuff. And what we're originally going to do is take a bigger room and chop it up and make it into these spaces. It's crazy. Why would we waste all that time? And the other thing, another rule that I have, don't get OPP involved unless you have to. So you can do it on your own. Probably hearing us here. You know, oh, or else. All right. This is some things that Steve Jobs was known to say. To create the future, you can't do it through focus group because people really don't even know what they want. So just try things and move on from there. Never feel failure. Listen to that little voice or your gut that tells you you're in the right track. Don't care about being right. If it's wrong, change it. It's that simple. You know, you try a classroom design, it doesn't work, move the chairs around. Stay hungry, stay foolish, take risks, and anything is possible through hard work, determination, and a sense of vision. So, there is my conclusion there, and I went way over, and I apologize for that. Any quick questions or anything like that? Sir?
You had talked about weighing options. Would we be better served doing this in the cloud?
Yeah.
Could you talk about some of the things that were served better by going to the cloud?
Well, in many regards, we view University Park as our cloud.
Okay.
So, for instance, the network management is a good thing like that. You know, why should I have my guys worrying about this all the time when I can do it here? We've also done some, we have project management in the cloud. GoPlan, I think is the name of the application. We use SharePoint, which is actually hosted up here. So we kind of look at University Park as our cloud. But just things like Google Docs and, the obvious things. And we haven't gone to anything like storage or anything like that yet. Again, because we can use the services up here, as can the colleges. So, we look at University Park as our consulting company.
And can you make this presentation available?
It's online.
Yeah, we'll share it out.
Yeah, it's just a URL you can get to. And there's also another one that goes a lot more into consolidating the services and things that if you're interested in that, a much longer presentation. I showed 3 slides. The full-fledged one is about 50.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.